Fantastic. Well, welcome everyone to our 6th weekly Power Lunch in the Our Power Lunch series. It is now a very busy time in Augusta, and the legislature has been working this week. We'll be in all day, every day next week, and up until the 16th or 17th or so when we finally adjourn. We're looking forward to sharing this video today with legislators who were unable to attend because of committee meetings or other obligations. And we have with us a number of folks, influencers and policy leaders, and as well as legislators joining us to hear live today from Bob and Ruby. And we are very privileged to have them both with us. Bob DeKorne is Senior VP for Operations and Engineering. Ruby Irigoyen is the Senior VP for Customer Services at Enco Utility Services. They both work at Enco, and Enco Utility Services is going to be helpful for us to understand, because what they do is something that we will need if we finally do enact LD 1708 and move forward with the creation of the Pine Tree Power Company. Enco's purpose is to help utilities, specifically cities, quasi-municipal districts, such as we propose, and master planned communities, to enter, operate, and manage an electric distribution business. They also offer other valuable unbundled, renewable, and telecom services. So issues like billing, for example, which certainly is a necessary back office function and has been the topic of some discussion with respect to LD 1708, is one of the many functions that they would perform. The operations of the grid, and we have spoken about LD 1708 as having a private operator. Of course, it's managed by that elected board and their staff, but the private operations is a piece that we really haven't explored in a Power Lunch before. So I think this will be a helpful overview and give us a little more familiarity with how this sort of thing can be done and has been done in other areas. Enco is based in California, but they've done work all over the US. We're very pleased to have Bob and Ruby with us today. And I'm going to now turn it over to Bob. I think Ruby is at an airport. So I'll turn it over to Bob first, and we'll hear from you for 10 minutes or so, and then leave some time for questions.
Hey, Seth.
Welcome, Bob.
Thank you very much. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
Okay, that sounds great. Appreciate the opportunity. You folks are looking at embarking into a pretty exciting area here. I can dispense with the opening slide. You can all see the slides, right?
Yes, we can. Looks great.
And Seth has already introduced both of us. Just a short background. I spent 30 years at Southern California Edison in the distribution field, and my counterpart is Ruby Irigoyen, who spent a similar amount of time at Southern California Edison as well, in both customer services and public affairs and the technology field. Trying to get my, all right, you see the second slide?
There we go. Yeah, works great.
Good. So basically in 97, Edison International, which owns, among other things, Southern California Edison, serving the Central and Southern California with about 4.5 million customers, formed Edison Utility Services specifically in anticipation of a deregulated environment to go out and look for businesses with municipal utilities. In 2001, during the energy crisis in California, when the market was being manipulated by Enron and others, and Edison almost filed bankruptcy. Pacific Gas and Electric did, and now have for the second time. They decided to divest themselves of a number of smaller companies, and Edison Utility Services was one of those. Ruby and I and Dennis Eastman, our CEO, who has since retired, are basically founders of Edison Utility Services. We were acquired by a majority ownership company by Apollo Real Estate Investment Advisors Fund 4 in New York, a $1 billion fund. And in 2002, we changed our name from Edison Utility Services into Enco Utility Services and completely divested or separated ourselves from Edison International. And today we're the leading non-regulated provider of fully bundled services in the United States. Give you some sense of the services we provide. On the electric operations side, which is my responsibility, we provide engineering, design and construction, operation and maintenance, transmission interconnection, complete field services, meter reading and so forth, billing and software services, call center, which is actually Ruby's bailiwick, and remittance processing. We have an outage management system, a utility maintenance management system, all automated systems that we've created that make sure that we stay up to date with the maintenance of the system, mapping GIS, and we've implemented distribution automation architecture for our clients, improving reliability. I'm going to let Ruby take a minute just to kind of run through the unbundled customer services that she provides on her side. Ruby?
Thanks, Bob. So early on into the life of Enco Utility Services, as we acquired some clients where we were doing the full operations and maintenance and design and construction and the whole thing, we had to set up, of course, our software in order to do billing and customer portal and online payment processing, pay by phone, and so on. And so because these new utilities were small, at least when they were starting up, we had all of this infrastructure sitting there. And so we decided to market those services as standalone services to municipal utilities across the country. So all of those items that you see there, we now provide to over 100. Not every customer takes all of them, but we have about 115 municipal customers across the country. We have our bill print and mail operation in Tallahassee and in Hemet, California. We print and mail about 10 million bills a year. Our call center is now in California and Tallahassee as well, our second call center there. We handle about 35 to 40,000 calls a month to some major customers as well as little tiny customers. They're full utility grade CSRs. We're 24/7. We dispatch, we call out the staff of other utilities to respond to emergency service requests. We also monitor their substations. We receive mailed in payments. We take the payments over the phone, as I mentioned. We have our own outage management system. And we do full service billing. As an example, for the city of Chattanooga, we bill all of their sewer accounts, about 65,000 of them every month. And we also provide backup call center support for the city of Chattanooga. So we do on-site training, we do quality control. We provide our customers with daily reports of their statistics from the day before, and then weekly and monthly reports as well.
Thanks, Ruby. Our final slide, I'm just going to talk a little bit, highlight a few of the utilities that we've handled all of our services for. In California, there's the McAllister Ranch Irrigation District. It was the first irrigation district formed in California in about 50 years. It was actually a developer that created an irrigation district, which in California is able to provide both electric and water services. Unfortunately, that development got going with a golf course and some basic services about the time that the housing crisis across the country started and came to a screeching halt. Electric District number 3 in Arizona was an overhead serving utility that served primarily agricultural customers, but there was a developer that moved in there and developed a master plan community, started with 0 and went up to 22,400 customers, which is what they're serving now. We had that contract for 12 years. They had no expertise in developing underground distribution systems, so we did that for them. And we served as a full service utility and helped them start up for a 12-year period until they decided to take it in-house. And we actually allowed all of our employees to go to work for them. They bought out our contract. City of Winter Park, Florida went through condemnation and formed their own utility, and we provided all of their startup services, separating their system from the incumbent investor-owned utility. And we provide full services, including engineering, operation, and maintenance for an 11-year period. I had my crews out there operating the system for them. City of Industry here in California is a city that is 99% industrial. There's only about 200 residential residences, in town, and the rest of all is all industrial. They decided to take a commercial park and kind of get their nose under it, and are currently serving 141 large commercial industrial customers. We have been providing customer services there for 20 years and ongoing. City of Moreno Valley is a city that was about 50% undeveloped. There was a lot of development going on. They decided to form a greenfield utility, which essentially means they did not go through condemnation of the existing facilities of Southern California Edison, but they decided to condition all future development to take service from the city. And we started with 0 meters in Moreno Valley, and we're up to 7,100 customers at that location now, and have been providing those services for the last 18 years and ongoing. We recently got an extension through 2025. So one of the things that I want to emphasize here is our sole purpose here is just to show you all that there are companies out there who provide these kinds of services for municipals and quasi-municipals. We're one of them. To my knowledge, we're the only one that provides the full bundle of services, from operations engineering to customer service and meter reading and billing it. But those services are available from other companies. I want to emphasize that we are a contractor. We're not a consulting firm. And we're very careful about entering into the consulting space and overly advocating on behalf of municipals, because it could create a conflict and preclude us from ultimately responding to an RFP to do the operation and maintenance, provide all the services that we described. Having said that, clearly, municipal utilities and quasi-municipals and regionals have significant advantages, lower cost structure, no multi-million-dollar executive salaries, no shareholder dividends, lower cost and a tax-exempt financing and so forth. And city of Winter Park, for example, is one of those, having taken advantage of all of those, that was actually able to cut its rates and at the same time take additional savings that they realized and underground all of the existing facilities within the city, and that's almost complete now. And as well as implement distribution and other technologies that improve reliability significantly beyond just the undergrounding itself. I know that you're all astute enough to realize that this is not a slam dunk. It takes a lot of political will. You'll see legal challenges. You'll have to go through condemnation and so forth. And some of the investor-owned utilities don't play nice. So I know you're prepared to take that on, assuming your consultants have shown you that there's a cost benefit involved in taking this step. So with that, happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Fantastic. Well, Bob, Ruby, thank you so much. And Bob, if you want to take down that screen share, we'll be able to see each other and have a little discussion in the next 9 minutes or so. There is a question, first of all, about how your relationship with the staff has been. I assume that in the case of Winter Park, Florida, for example, and by the way, we had the pleasure of meeting with I believe his name is Randy Knight from Winter Park, Florida, who operates the utility there. So you've done business with him clearly, and I assume that you are, they put out the RFP. They're looking for a qualified bidder, and you would be one of the respondents to that bid, correct? And that would be the case if for example, there were a bid to come out from a new large consumer-owned utility here in Maine.
That's exactly right.
Great. So you would not be involved in the management of the utility, but rather you would be the operations company, correct?
That's correct.
Great. And another question that we had was about interaction with customers. And it's very exciting that you mentioned Chattanooga. I've been fascinated by Chattanooga because it's providing electricity and has since, I believe, the 1930s. Consumer owned across the city, and then more recently it went into fiber, and it's now called the gig city, and making a lot of waves by offering very high speed, low cost broadband citywide gigabit symmetrical service, and by the same utility that offers the electricity, same consumer owned utility. So very exciting. So we'll take Chattanooga as an example. If a customer is interacting, if they call about their bill, they're interacting with one of your staff, is that right? But how do they understand it? Does it feel to them like they're operating like they're calling their own utility? What's the experience of the customer?
Yeah, I'll go ahead.
First, let me, Bob, if you will, let me explain that what the billing and the call center support we provide to the city is for the sewer area. Okay. It's not the electric side.
Got it.
And we are providing overflow on the calls for them, and we have all of the queues set up so it whispers in the CSR's ear, City of Chattanooga or Chattanooga, so they know how to answer the phone.
Got it.
The idea is that it's invisible to the customer, that they don't know the difference of talking to somebody at 311 or talking to somebody at Enco. They don't even know Enco exists.
Okay, got it. That's helpful. So there is that seamless experience for the customer. Any other questions from the audience here? And I think it's pretty clear that this is just one of many. I appreciate Bob and Ruby, have joined us to help understand from their experience. But just quickly, as you're thinking of your questions, I want to highlight, in the case of Long Island, a very large utility that transitioned in 1998 to consumer ownership. They have hired two different other large utilities to operate the grid, to be their operations company. The first of those was National Grid. They then switched to PSEG, and that's a much larger example. So certainly Enco is not the only game in town. I'm sure they'd be the first to say that, but just wanted to kind of give that larger context. So any questions for Bob or Ruby? Oh, we have them. And feel free to just jump right in.
I guess, excuse me, one more follow-up to the customer interaction question. So if you won the bid and you were operating the electric utilities in Maine, would you be hiring your own call center staff, or would you be using the existing staff, or how would that work?
Well, I'll just flag that the bill as we propose it does require that the existing staff stay on. And Bob and Ruby may not know this, but Avangrid does provide back office and billing services out of Boston. So those positions presumably would need to be replaced. So Ruby, with that said, do you want to?
Yeah, I think if we would keep the same CSRs and the same call center that's there now, we would just go through and make sure that the quality controls are all in place, and that they're listening to the calls, and that they know their quality control is really important in delivering service to customers. And so we would work to manage that and make sure that those same employees were there. As we needed employees, then we would hire locally to replace them. And one thing we have done with our call center is we've expanded significantly in the last couple of years, and we're using CSRs that work remotely. More than half of our CSR staff is in Florida, Tennessee, Georgia, and Texas. So they're kind of dispersed across the country, which helps us when there's outages and that kind of thing.
Thank you.
That's an interesting point. And with respect to outages, I understand there's a fair amount of mutual aid in the outage response world. Do you have any experience to share in that respect? Can you explain how that works?
Actually, I belong to the Florida Municipal Electric Association and the California Municipal Association, and we meet before storm season, and we're just doing that now, and set up the relationships on who's going to respond to who, because there's a huge community in all across the southern states and the northern states where they go and reach out and help one another. So we help with that. We do the daily reports that they need for the state and for the counties. So we provide all the reporting for that so they can keep on track of everything.
Any other questions? Let's see, one from Steve Weems. Can you speak about coordination and integration of operations when there are different entities involved? Is that a challenge?
I think that one's Bob's.
Bob, and you are muted. Bob still with us? Oh, while we're, oh, there he is.
Yeah.
Bob, did you hear the question?
Yeah, regarding interaction, integration with other utilities during storm operations?
No, the question is, I'll just restate it briefly. How do you coordinate and integrate operations when different operational functions are being handled by different entities?
I'm not sure I understand that question.
It sounds like there may be you're partnering. Ruby talked about sort of taking overflow calls. is it a challenge to sort of partner with other entities to provide that seamless customer experience?
Actually, I'll give you an example of the way that we work that. We have, so I apologize for the noise in the background. We have a contract that we've had with Florida Public Utility for about 5 years now. And they're owned by Chesapeake Utilities. So we meet every morning. We have a tailboard every morning at 7 Pacific time. And we go through the stats from the day before down to the queue level. We decide between their call center and our call center how we're going to direct the queue flow so that we can maximize the calls with on both sides of the house to make the wait time as low as possible. And then we modulate it during the day. They have full, complete, transparent access to our online system. They can see every CSR, every call coming in. And we work as a team. We look at ourselves as the same. So that's the way we work it with our utilities. And that's the same with the city of Lake Worth and the city of Homestead. We meet with them once a week, but FP is the biggest and we do it daily.
Well, that's fantastic. And I don't know where the time goes. It's hard for me to believe it's already 1 o'clock. Bob and Ruby, I want to thank you so much for joining us. And what you've shared with us today is really profoundly important. You know, one question that comes up about the idea of having the operations company, the new operations company, take over an existing utility such as Central Maine Power or Versant here in Maine, is the back office functions. You know, that has come up. You know, right now billing is based out of Boston, so that back office function would need to be replaced. And it's clear that there are companies like yours that are out there that can do that sort of work and also provide that that kind of economy of scale, in the background. And who knows, maybe we'll decide to, that those jobs can come back to Maine rather than be based in Boston. But it's so helpful to know that there are folks like you out there that do this sort of work and that provide that kind of wraparound support. So Ruby, I know you have a plane to catch and you're calling in from an airport. Thank you so much. Bob, thank you as well. And both of you out in California, I hope you have a great rest of your day since you're just starting yours. And Ruby, have a great trip to Florida. We will be in touch as we proceed with this legislation, and we hope you'll consider someday bidding on at least some piece of this operations work that we hope to make possible here in Maine. So with that,
very much. It's a pleasure.
All right.
Yeah, call us anytime.
Fantastic. Thanks again, Bob. Thanks again, Ruby. And thanks everyone for joining us for this 6th Power Lunch. We encourage you to visit the ourpowermaine.org website to see all of the previous videos as well as this one, which will be posted shortly. Have a great weekend.
And Bill Dunn, you can take off right now.